those who came before you. And as they fought one another for it, I worry that it would ruin you as it ruined them. أو كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the point he was making is, dunya is dunya. We live it, we enjoy it, we're looking for things in it. We are all the time thinking of what is the next thing that I need to do. If I am a younger person, is it the college degree? If I graduate, is it the job? If I get married, is it the house, the kids? All these things are all in our minds while we are in dunya. Difficult to separate from this. Even the Sahaba, right? Radiallahu anhum, they finish Salat al-Fajr and they rush out waiting for portions of dunya. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam shows that he fears what we are in now, because the Muslim ummah worldwide, especially in the Middle East, they have a lot of wealth. They have unlimited wealth virtually. They can spend as much as they want. And probably their wealth is not going to go away of the amount they have. But they are entering into a level of corruption that is mind-blowing. When you look at what they do with the money they have, subhanallah, it is very strange. But it is an application. It is this prophecy of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are seeing it. So how can we learn from these words what we can apply on our own selves? And I will run through some stories of the Salaf, the believers, and also the kuffar, the non-believers that live with them, and how dunya ruined those, and how dunya, after they entered Islam, those believers were able to control these urges. So, a man that you might not hear of is Amr ibn Luhay. And I cannot imagine what kind of, punishment this man has. Amr ibn Luhay was one of the leaders in Mecca, and the Meccan people before Amr ibn Luhay was at the belief of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. They understand there is one God. There's no idols, none of that stuff. But Amr ibn Luhay travels around, sees people worshipping idols. He comes to Mecca and he starts building these little statues. And you hear of them in the Quran, Waddan wa Suwa'a wa Yaghutha wa Ya'uqa wa Nasra. He comes up with all these, and he is the one responsible for the presence of idols around the Kaaba. He is the one who established this whole thing, this whole practice in the Arab Peninsula. And imagine like a man like this, you don't need any of that. He was powerful, he had the money, he had what he wants from dunya. But sometimes dunya covers the heart and distorts people's thinking into certain directions. Even if they have the wealth, even if they have the power, even if they have what they want from dunya, you could imagine they continue to want more. And that's what this man wanted. And he misled thousands of people for generations with this action. Another person is Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl's story is mind-blowing. We know about Abu Jahl as he is like one of the most, aggressive fighters against Islam and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Abu Jahl knew that Islam is correct. Can you imagine that? He knew that this is right. His problem was not with believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His problem is a completely different thing. Abu Jahl, his name is Abu al-Hakam. Before the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam called him Abu Jahl. So, there are three people, Al-Akhnas, Abu Sufyan, and Abu al-Hakam, or Abu Jahl. At that time, they are sneaking around listening to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are leaders of their tribes, and they don't want anybody to see that they are listening, but they're trying to listen and verify what's going on. What is he saying? And coincidentally, after that, they all meet. They all see each other. And Al-Akhnas wants to, get the input of Abu Jahl and Abu Sufyan. So when he asks Abu Sufyan gives a balanced answer. He says, I hear things, I recognize some, and I don't understand the other. I don't know. It's new to me. I don't get it yet. There's something in it, right? Whereas Abu Jahl says, what did I hear? We fought and we challenged And we have been in this continuous challenge with Banu Abd Manaf, the people of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Jahl is from Khuza'a and they are from Banu Manaf, Abd Manaf. And he says, they fed people, we fed people. They carried people, we carried people. They gave, we gave. Until we were all on the same level with the honor. He's just focusing on the honor between the two tribes. We are equivalent in the honor. We have done as much as they did. They claim they have a messenger. We are not going to be able to match them. I am not going to ever believe in him or believe what he's saying. And there is another situation where the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam meets Abu Jahl and he tells him in a certain way, isn't it time? Isn't it time? You know it's true, right? Isn't it time? And the man just keeps going. And he then tells the other person who was with him, I know it is true, and he repeats the same story, but I would never believe in it because it's just honor. These guys, we are not going to be able to marry. We're not going to be able to bring a prophet from our side. So we got to fight this because we're not going to be able to continue this challenge with these people. Dunya covers his mind completely. A powerful man, a rich man, has what he wants of dunya, but wants more. And then finally, another example of a man who lived and learned with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ended up completely misleading people again because of dunya. This man is called Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah. Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah came with his people, Banu Hanifa, and they met the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they went back to preach Islam to their people. But Al-Mughira stayed with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you remember the name Banu Hanifa, those are the people who Musaylim al-Kadhdhab will come from later. So Musaylima, the guy who claimed prophecy, was living at the time of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he did actually meet the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked him. He said, let's partner. You are a prophet, I'm a prophet. You take half and I take half. He thinks it's just a deal, a dunya deal. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells him, this is the fadl from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah gives it to whoever he chooses. I cannot do that with you. So Musaylama goes back to his people, keeps on this. He doesn't stays put for the whole story, still wants it, but he's not going to be able to accomplish it at this time. Whereas Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, he stays with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba, and they all say he was sawaman, qawaman, he prays, he stays, they prays at night, they look at him and his worship, mashallah, he's such a great person in how he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how he does siyam and qiyam and all of that. And then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam passes away, and then Musaylama starts his claim. And what Musaylama says, when he went to meet the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he agreed. He actually didn't say no. He said, yeah, you're a prophet, I'm a prophet. When I pass away, you can take over. That's his claim. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, who is the best person to go to Bani Hunayfa and correct this? Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, right? He is one of them. He is the one who stayed with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam for a few years. He learned. He is, mashallah, shows a lot of knowledge. Go back to your people and tell them this is not correct. So Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah goes to his people, sees the riches that Musaylama has, sees the support and the people around Musaylama, and he tells them what Musaylama says is correct. I was there and I witnessed that. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him that he is also a prophet. Complete 180 degrees change in a moment for a man. And eventually, he is killed in these battles that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu had to fight against those who try to follow Musaylama as a prophet, a false prophet. So subhanAllah, how a man can live his life and learn a lot, and then at the end just ruins it all for dunya. Now, let's get some good examples to learn from. Another man, another Sahabi, and this man is called Abu Dahdah. Abu Dahdah is a rich man, a Sahabi, lives in Medina, has the best garden in Medina, the best farms, the best trees. At Tamr, the dates from his trees are known that this is from his farms. It is unparalleled. Over 600 palm tree. And the Messenger ﷺ is sitting with the Sahaba, and a man comes and says, I'm trying to build a fence. My fence will go, it's just around my property. You're building a fence around his property, and as he's building the fence, there is a tree in the way. He can't complete the fence if that tree is there. So he's asking the Messenger ﷺ to, mediate between him and the owner of the tree, so he would give it to him or sell it to him or whatever, so he can complete his project. And the man refuses. He doesn't want to give up his tree. So the Messenger ﷺ says, asks, there are different narrations. I'm going to pick the most sahih of them, is that Abu Dahdah is in the setting and he seizes the opportunity. There is a narration where the man refuses to give the tree and so on, but it is a weak narration. But the sahih narration is that Abu Dahdah sees the opportunity. He says to the Messenger ﷺ, I take his tree for all my trees. I will trade off. All my trees are given to this man, and I will take the tree and give it for free, so the man completes his fence, and I get a tree in Jannah. And the Messenger ﷺ says, كم من عذق رداح لأبي الدحداح في الجنة. عذق رداح means multiple trees, that they are, رداح means that they are heavy with fruits to the point that they are leaning to the bottom, to the floor, to the ground, because of how much fruits they have. And when Abu Dahdah, eventually he gets shahada, and they are carrying him, the Messenger ﷺ repeats the statement again, كم من عذق رداح لأبي الدحداح. A man in a moment sold all the dunya and what's in it. In a moment gave up everything he had. It is mind-blowing when we think how these Sahaba did it. I don't know if I can, well, actually I know I can't probably give up everything in a moment like this. None of us can do that. So how could these people take these actions? And a note for the sisters, because Abu Dahdah was married, so he goes home to his wife and he says, let's go. I sold everything. Pack and let's go. And she knows her husband is a smart, man. He probably has a great deal. So how much did you sell it for? And he says, a tree in Jannah. And I imagine, the reaction of the wife, or if any of us does that, and the wife would just, she sold everything, like we're homeless now. And her reaction was, Rabih al-bayah. This is the best trade you have done. Complete belief in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, complete disconnect of what this dunya has to offer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hadid mentioned that this dunya is but an illusion. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. It is just an illusion. We're enjoying it, we're fighting, we're running for it, we want it. But at the end, it's just an illusion. It is not going to last. And there are multiple stories of the Sahaba. I will conclude with one before the break. Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. When the believers go to Al-Madinah, there is a well of water called Bi'r Rumiyah. And it is owned by a Jewish man. And the Jewish man charges people for the money. It's a business, right? There's no problem. This is just, he's running his business, but he is leveraging that this is the only well in this area. And Uthman ibn Affan was a rich man. He comes to him. And I want you to understand, it's not just about a sadaqah or buying it. It is the persistence to get it done. Because Uthman ibn Affan says, sell me your well. How much do you want for it? 10,000? The man says no. 20,000? The man says no. They go up to 40,000. The man says no. Because he knows this is a good business. It will continue to give him a revenue. Why sell it today? And then Uthman ibn Affan, he's a smart man as well. So he says, sell me half of it. I take half the days of the week, you take half the days of the week for 12,000. And they agree on the deal like that. I want you to see how persistent Uthman ibn Affan is, because he could have, I tried. I offered 4 times the value of that place and they wouldn't sell. What else can I do? But he still continues. He wants it for the believers. And then guess what? Uthman ibn Affan gives it out for free, so people would fill water only on the days of Uthman radiallahu anhu. They would not touch the well on the days of the other man. So the other man goes to Uthman ibn Affan And he says, you ruined my business. Like, people are not buying water from me anymore because you're offering it for free. And Uthman ibn Affan, a just Muslim man, some of us might think, yeah, I got you, right? You don't want it, you leave it. It is what it is. But Uthman ibn Affan, as a just Muslim, following the teachings of Islam, pays the man. He said, okay, initially we said 20,000, which is double the value. I'll pay you the 8,000 and I keep the well. The story doesn't end here. To date, this well is still running. To date, the multiple Muslim governments that control this area use the well to start farms. There are hundreds of thousands of trees, hundreds of acres right now that are getting water from this well. Uthman ibn Affan's well is the first endowment in Islam, and it continues to give to date, and he reaps all these rewards for 1400 years now and continues more because everybody has been taking care of the well and the money goes for charity. Subhanallah. Uthman ibn Affan couldn't have imagined this will last that long. At his setup, at his mindset, he was solving a problem for the Medina. But subhanallah, we were talking recently about endowments and how big universities in the US are surviving because of endowments. It's not because of fundraising. We keep fundraising, we keep asking people for money every year or every whenever to continue our expenses, but the real money maker for the universities that allows them to sustain, look at Harvard or MIT, is endowments done by people. And that concept that the West has taken from us actually started in Islam. And the first endowment no one ever is Uthman ibn Affan that keeps giving to date. They get the money, they put some into charity and some to continue expansions, and it continues like that. It is sustainable and it continues to give over 400 years now. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. So, when I read these stories about our Sahaba, and it is very important for all of us, and I will take the moment to remind everybody that we need to learn these things. I was hearing a scholar recently, and he was making a joke, but he was saying, if inshallah, bi'idhnillah, we all go to Jannah, we enter Jannah and we see Abu Dahdah and Talha ibn Zubayr and these people, we don't know any of them. Like, imagine one of us going to Jannah who has never read about these people, and all the people in Jannah are the Sahaba that you feel like, who are these people? I didn't even know about them. Whereas if you look in Hellfire, you will see the people that we actually know these days, right? This singer, or this famous person, or this or that. So we need to know where should we adjust our mindset and get our knowledge and learn about who. Think of the company we want to be with. I want to be in Jannah. I want to be with these people. How come I go to that place and don't even know them? This is Khalid ibn al-Walid. This is this man. It would be embarrassing, right? So I will take this as a tangent to remind ourselves of learning about the companions and the Sabiqeen. And this is how we can fix our life by seeing what they have done. I'm not claiming that any of us will give everything or buy a well for 4 times its value, but we want to take one snapshot of how they were raised in Mecca, and I will focus on one thing, which is Salatu Qiyam al-Layl. We are told that this is a sunnah, but we do not remember it, and it seems very strange to bring it up today. Like, this is not Ramadan. Why are you talking about that, right? We do this in Ramadan, and that's about it. No. It's a year-round thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Muzzammil, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا إنا سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا. صدق الله العظيم. The first few ayat of Surah Al-Muzzammil establishes the night prayers. Where did this happen? In Mecca. As Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha says that this was an obligation at the time. It was not a choice, because the ayah says قُمِ اللَّيْلِ. It doesn't say you are free to قُمِ اللَّيْلِ or not. It says قُمِ اللَّيْلِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. You pray at night except a little bit of it. نِصْفَهُ أَوْ انْقُصْ مِنْهُ قَلِيلًا. Half of it, imagine this, half of the night or a little bit less than half. For 13 years in Mecca, they treated Salat Qiyam al-Layl as an obligation, and it was fit to the time. It was a time of tragedy. It was a time of difficulty. It was a time of similar circumstances to what we live now and see in the world around us. Muslims are in a very difficult situation across the world, but even in this country, we are feeling difficulties ourselves on a personal level, on a community level, or an ummah level. They needed Salat Qiyam al-Layl at that time. And it is a reminder for us to consider this as part of our habits. I'll leave you today with one practical lesson, it will be establish Salat Qiyam al-Layl. Establish praying a couple rak'at at night. Just 2. And Salat al-Witr. Do it after Isha, do it before Fajr. We don't have time to go to the level and the differences and the ajr for each one of them and the different times. Look this up and learn about them. There are multiple hadiths that talk about Salat Qiyam al-Layl, and it is ajr. It's ajr. But what I want to say is, on a spiritual level, why is it different? Because right now, in the daytime, we're all thinking of dunya, right? Some of you are saying, when is this guy going to get done? I got to go to my job. I got to pick the children. I have lunch to go to. I have dinner. Some are even on their phones. Yes, I can see you from here. Put the phone back. All right. Some of us cannot stop thinking. The majority of us are probably thinking the same thing. Once Salah is done, we rush to the meeting. Even in Salah, even in the rak'ah itself, we're thinking, what's next? The meeting and the kids and the lunch and the dinner and the business and this and that. In the daytime, these things are not going to stop. But in the nighttime, there's nothing. Or except if you're a gamer and stay at night. Please don't do that. Gamers, avoid it at night. But at the night, even, I have a million WhatsApp groups I'm in. If I don't look at my phone during the day, I see 300 messages that I need to catch up on. I tried Qiyam al-Layl one night. I left my phone and I prayed. And then I looked at the phone. There's nothing. Wow. 0 messages. Nobody's trying to send anything. Because it is a time of a spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we need that. Modern sciences are saying, psychologically, human beings need to take 20 minutes a day to separate and isolate from everything and focus on one thing. You can pick it. Your health, I don't know what it is, but they are advising. This is modern sciences away from deen, that you need this 20 minutes of tranquility away from everything else. And we have this already established in our deen. You focus on yourself at that night with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask for what you want. Talk about what you want. It is your time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And let's agree today that we try and see how much benefit we get from that. Like I said, after Isha, I prefer it later at night. If we can do that, wake up before Fajr. But make sure this is part of our lives. We all going to see how big of a difference it makes. The last piece is, I'm going to say that at the end, because it's not a fard. Salat Qiyam al-Layl is not a fard, right? The ayah was nusikhat later. It was when they went to Al-Madinah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the last half of the surah, which is the long ayah at the end, starts by أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن ربك يعلم أنك تقوم أدنى من ثلثي الليل ونصفه وثلثه وطائفة من الذين معك والله يقدر الليل والنهار علم أن لن تحصوه فتاب عليكم فاقرأوا ما تيسر من القرآن, to the end of the ayah. So after 13 years in Mecca and how many years in Medina, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the second half of the surah and says, now I'm telling you, I see that you pray at night. Do what you can. It's no longer an obligation, but they continued to do it because they saw the value of that. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت، وتولنا فيمن توليت، وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت، واصرف عنا برحمتك شر ما قضيت. اللهم إن لنا إخوانا مستضعفين فانصرهم، اللهم إن لنا إخوانا مستضعفين فانصرهم. اللهم فرج كربتهم، واجمع شملهم، ووحد كلمتهم، وأرنا في عدوهم عجائب قدرتك. اللهم شتت شمل عدوهم، اللهم انصرهم وعجل بنصرهم. اللهم اجعلنا ممن اخترت لنصرهم، ولا تجعلنا ممن تخاذل عنهم. اللهم اغفر لنا تقصيرنا معهم، وارزقنا يا كريم أن تستخدمنا ولا تستبدلنا يا رب العالمين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.